Okay. Erev Tov, everyone. Those of you who are zooming in, it is time to start our service. I'd like to invite everyone to please turn off your cell phones if you are here in person. And if you are zooming or YouTubing from home, welcome. Welcome, everyone. Let's begin our service on page 129 with Yedid Nefesh.
Let's see. Okay, I call the melody. Dibs. Dibs on the melody.
Okay. Dibs on, I'll figure out what I'm singing.
Page 124, we enter the sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our history and our endless wanderings, it has endured a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to live a life of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into the sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift out our hearts in prayer. To lead us in the reading on page 121, which will be followed by lighting of Shabbat candles, I'd like to invite Melissa Immel, our chair, beloved chair of RPC.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Praise you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Shabbat. And now that we've welcomed Shabbat, I invite you to wish each other Shabbat Shalom, whether here in person or via Zoom.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I know Miss Swan.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
All right, schmoozers. Come on, schmoozers. As Mike is finding his way back to the bima, I'll speak super slow. Page 138, as we continue with Lecha. You ready?
I'm ready.
Oh,
And by the way, I do apologize. I did not realize I had the wrong Lecha Dodi. There aren't multiple ones by Karl Bach. This is Moshe Laufner.
Absolutely wonderful. Please, let's hear it. I am so delighted. We're going to chant, as always, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9.
Ay, 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 lecha dodi. Ay, 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 likrat kala. Ay, 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 penei Shabbat. Penei Shabbat lekabla. Ay, 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 lecha dodi. Ay, 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 likrat kala. Ay, 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 penei Shabbat. Penei Shabbat lekabla. Shemor v'zachor b'dibor echad. Hishbi'anu el ha'yuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad. L'shem u'tiveret v'litilah. Ay, 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 lecha dodi. Ay, 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 likrat kala. Ay, 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 penei Shabbat. Penei Shabbat lekabla. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nechachatim lekor habracha. Merosh mikedem nefucha. Sof maaseh b'machshava gdila. Ay, 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 lecha dodi. Ay, 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 likrat kala. Ay, 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 penei Shabbat. Penei Shabbat lekabla. Hitorri, hitorri
Chatzi Kaddish. Let's continue on page 144.
Yikadal v'yitkadash me Rabba.
Amen.
Al divrach rutei v'amlich machutei v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye de kol beit Yisrael bagala bagala uv'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yesh me Rabba mavarach al amol al me al maya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishabach yitpahar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei kudsha brechu leila min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata damiran b'alma v'imru amen.
Let's continue with the Barichu. If you are able, I invite you now to rise. It is on page 146.
Et Adonai, Baruch Adonai,
Page 149. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv arabim, בחוכמה פותח שערים, ובתבונה משנה עיתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. Please join me at the top of page 149 as we read together. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of the tide, time, and light. You guide the current day into night, as heaven spans to infinity. You set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Let us all take a deep breath in. For some of us, this has been a very challenging week. For some of us, it has not. But let us all take a deep breath in. And when we take another one,
Yes.
let's exhale and let all the schmutz, the worries of this past week, to simply dissipate as we join together in the watchword of our people. Shema Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובחומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem. Thank you, Patrick.
I'd like to invite everyone to join me in responsive reading on page 157. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. From bondage in Egypt, we were delivered. At Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Be Moses and the children crossed the sea and sang to you with songs of joy. Who is like Adonai? Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Torah te'ilo. We turn to page 162. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat. And those who keep Shabbat will rejoice in your realm. As we sing a little Yismachu. You sure you don't want to play some guitar, Rabbi? All right, well then come over here and snap your fingers where the camera is so everybody on Zoom and on YouTube can see you. Hello in the back. Welcome. Shabbat Shalom. Yismachu v'malchutcha shomrei 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 Shabbat v'korei onei Shabbat. Yismachu v'malchutcha shomrei 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 Shabbat v'korei onei Shabbat. Shabbat Yisbehu Yitzayu B'tuvecha Shabbat Yismechu V'malchutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat V'korei Honei Shabbat Yismechu V'malchutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat V'korei Honei Shabbat B'tzina v'b'kida shochem dat Yad mimoto karata Zecher lemaseh Bereshit Yismechu v'malchutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat V'korei onei Shabbat Yismechu v'malchutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat V'korei onei Shabbat.
That was amazing. Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. That was so beautiful. Let's continue with the Amidah, also known as the Tefillah. Of course, if you're able, please rise. We will begin on page 164. Then we'll continue with 166 and 168.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yadi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Hagadol, Hagibor, V'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chazdei Avot V'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'Nehem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah rav lehoshia, Morid hatah. Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar. Mi chamocha ba'al gevurot, Umidom elach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'emanata l'chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol.
Page 170, Ata Kadosh v'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kedoshim b'chol yom yalelucha Sela, Baruch Ata Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God, Baruch Ata Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. And I'd like now to invite you to continue with your own private conversation with God. And when you are done, please have a seat. You are with me in my prayer, my love, and my doubt, in my longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still clear voice within me. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles me, when anxiety makes me tremble, when pain clouds my mind, I look inward for the answer to my prayers. There may I find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let my worship brings me closer to everyone in my own life. That all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha be'yirah e'evod. I praise you, O God, whom alone I serve in reverence. Shalom Rav, abundance of peace. Please turn to page 178. Prepare to engage in our Torah service, let me just read a little synopsis of this week's Torah portion. Parashat Kedoshim, you shall be holy, for I, the Eternal, your God, am holy. These 7 words form the basis for many well-known laws in chapter 19 of this week's second part of the double portion, Acharei Mot and Kedoshim. Probably the most famous verse, love your neighbor as yourself, I am the Eternal, stands boldly in mid-chapter. I will talk a little bit more about love your neighbor, ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. The second part of Kedoshim depicts laws for a family in the context of religious community, concluding with a challenge to the people of Israel to distinguish themselves from other nations and how to be a holy people, Kedoshim. And so now I'd like to invite up to the bima our ark openers, our Gabaim, and Torah carriers. Please come up to the bima as Mike will lead us on page 362 with Ein Kamocha.
Have that removed. Ein kamocha ve'Elohim Adonai, v'ein kama'asecha, malchutcha malchut ko'olamim, u'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'hador. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imloch l'olam va'ed. Adonai oz la'amo yitein. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Avharachamim Heitiva virtzoncha et Zion. Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim. Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim. Ki v'cha levad batachnu. Melech Ram v'nisa Adon olamim. Top of page 364. Ki mitzion tetze Torah. Ki mitzion tetze Torah. Udvar Adonai Mirushalayim. Top of 366. Baruch Shanatan Shenatan Torah. Baruch Shenatan Torah. La'amo Yisrael B'Kedushato. We sound the watchword of our faith. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Mo. Gadlu Adonai iti, Urom Mashmo Yachdav. Locha Adonai Hagadol V'Hagivroa V'Hatiferet V'Hanesach V'Haon. Ki chol b'shamayim uvaretz, ki chol b'shamayim uvaretz. Var Adonai hamamlacha, ninatzeh lechol erosh. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu v'har kodsho. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu v'har kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romamu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romamu. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu v'har kodsho. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu v'har kodsho.
Announcing you.
She's doing from the second portion. So here.
For the first Aliyah,
It's
I'd like
Jeff Nathan.
to invite Jeff Nathan. We are on page 798 in our Chumash for Parshat Kedoshim, and that is Leviticus chapter 19, verse 1. Kiss the Torah.
Baruchu et Adonai Hamborach. Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe לאמור, דבר אל כל עדת בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם קדושים תהיו כי קדוש אני אדוני אלוהיכם. איש אמו ואביו תיראו ואת שבתותי תשמורו אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אל תפנו אל האלילים ואלוהי מסכה לא תעשו לכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher koach. For the second aliyah, I'd like to invite Mark Wolko, who's doing second aliyah. You're gonna do second aliyah. Brett Kogan. Thank you.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
אמן. ותזבחו זבח של עמים לאדוני לרצונכם. תזבחהו ביום זבחכם יאכל וממחרת והנותר עד יום השלישי באש ישרף. ואם האכול יאכל ביום השלישי פיגול הוא לא ירצה בחלב. What's that word? Oh no. יישא כי את קודש אדוני חלל ונכרתה הנפש ההיא מעמיה. Yasher koach. The first person I've heard here that actually responds with Bruchati. Thank you. Let's am I forgetting something? No. Okay. Oh, making that. I thought you were going to drop Mike. Okay. Michael, are you ready for a little bit of Misha Beraching?
I am indeed.
It is a custom, so everyone, I guess you can sit, and we're not lifting quite yet, right? Awesome. Yeah. Stay here with us. Okay, good. On this Shabbat, we are lovingly thinking of members of our community who are all in need of refuah shlema, complete and wholesome healing. We pray for healing for Andreota Halprin, Annette Dirlam, Barbara Chansey, Chaya, Leah, Hannah, Cynthia, Elliot Larkin, Fred Belkin, Harvey Malin, Heather Mullis, Linda Topol, Marcy Sherloff, Mike Gordon, Natalie Lutovsky, Philip Chansey, Sky Sumlin, and Stan Leiden. If you have a name that you would like to add to our healing list, please raise your hand and say that name as my eyes meet yours.
The Misha Berach is on the middle of page 371. We invite you to sing with us so that all who need healing can hear us. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
May all be blessed with complete and wholesome healing, and all those, of course, who have sustained wounds due to acts of violence in Israel and our world. At this time, I'd like to call back up to the podium our ark openers, the Magbiah or Magbiha, and the Golilim to come up here as we return the Torah back to the ark. I invite you now to please rise.
וזאת התורה אשר משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני מעד משה. Torah, 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 ציווה לנו משה. Torah, 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 ציווה לנו משה. Torah, 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 ציווה לנו משה. Torah, 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 ציווה לנו משה.
Torah, Torah, Torah,
Torah, Torah, Torah, Torah, ציווה לנו משה. Torah, 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 ציווה לנו משה.
Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado. Hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren le'amo. Tehila lechol chasidav, lifnei Yisrael am karovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Shivenu Adonai, Elecha v'nashuva, Chadesh yameinu kekedem. Hashivenu Adonai, Elecha v'nashuva, Chadesh yameinu
Yasher koach. So as I mentioned earlier while reading the short synopsis, love your neighbor as yourself is a fundamental mitzvah commended to us Jews in our Torah. In fact, to love our neighbor as ourselves is one of Judaism's most taught values. It is so important that it appears not only once but twice in Parshat Kedoshim, which is second of the double portions of this week's Acharei and then Kedoshim. Kedoshim means holy in plural, which begins with, and God spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the entire community of Israel and say to them, you shall be holy, for I, Adonai, your God, am holy. Rabbi Amy Soul wrote, according to Midrash Vayikra Rabbah 24, verse 5, Kedoshim, specifically chapter 19, is equal in weight to the Ten Commandments. No matter whether you want to look at it in a metaphorical or literal light, Kedoshim, the holiness code for Jewish existence, is at the heart of our religious tradition. Literally, if you scroll to the exact center of the Torah scroll, you will come to Kedoshim. And when you refer to many of our core sacred principles, you're making references to verses within this holiness code. One such example for a core moral code, as I mentioned earlier, is Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Love your neighbor as yourself, I am God, which appears in Leviticus 19:18 and again in Leviticus 19, verse 34. We do take this commandment very seriously, no doubt. But the question I'll ask here this evening is, how can one fulfill the commandment to love your neighbor or the stranger as yourself if you're scared of them? The short answer is, get to know them. I'll give you an example, but first let me ask you a question. How many of you have a tattoo here, anywhere in your body? Tattoo. A little one, okay. So growing up in Israel in the 60s and 70s and 80s, I'm not going to tell you exactly which one, we were taught that anyone with tattoos is a punk, a drunken sailor, or both. In other words, people with tattoos were considered troublemakers and unworthy of appreciation or friendship.
I'll leave.
Okay.
She's a troublemaker, not a
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drunken sailor too?
She has been known to sing a shanty.
Ach, that Manischewitz. Ach, that Manischewitz. I assume that, now more seriously, I assume that another reason tattoos were such a taboo back then in developing Israel is that numbers tattooed on Holocaust survivors' arms were still an incredibly fresh, painful reminder to the horrors of the concentration camps. I also am sharing this with you because for quite a few years, way into my adulthood, whenever I would drive my car, for example, and while stopping, what he says, stopping at a spotlight, if I saw someone with tattoos, I would quickly, back then it's already telling you how old I am, I would quickly roll up my window. Sorry, I'm cracking myself up here. And make sure my car doors were securely locked. I was simply scared and uncomfortable at the sight of anyone with tattoos. In my mind, I would immediately go to the stranger danger zone. Of course, I've grown and learned and somewhat matured since then. Over the years, I have become good friends with many people who adorn tattoos, each for different reasons. Both my nephews, for example, Sean and Tom, and their respective partners have them as well. What I'm trying to say here this evening is that sometimes looks can be deceiving. And how can you fulfill the commandment to love your neighbor or the stranger as yourself if you're scared of him or her? As I said, just get to know them. Ask questions. Let them tell their stories. Invite them for an honest conversation. If you feel any resistance or dislike towards any groups of people, I believe it stems from fear. May it be members of LGBTQ+ community, Republicans, Democrats, people of certain color or different religious background. I challenge you this evening to get to know them. One person at a time. Sit down and have a conversation. Because without taking that first step, you will simply continue to live in fear, which is the opposite of love. It is not hate. Hate can come and go, but fear tends to linger. Slowly and surely, it may easily turn into rejection. And before you even understand it yourself, fear of the other turns into xenophobia, and we all know where it can lead us. How many of you, for example, have heard of the primitive Baptist church in Topeka, Kansas, that's called God Hates Fags? Oh, yeah. One can never know what story or life circumstances brought an individual to look or be who they are. But I do know now that if I am scared and quick to pass judgment on someone I don't know, simply because they wear a tattoo or their hair in a certain way, the stranger, the other, the weird-looking neighbor from across the street, I may be missing an encounter with one amazing individual or even a group of phenomenal human beings. And holding back from getting to know someone because of preconceived notions about them would actually separate us from our ancestors who passed this important teaching on to us. Love the other, the one who is not you. Perhaps loving the other would help us to love ourselves a bit more along the way as well. Shabbat Shalom. I'd like to draw your attention to page 570. Hineni muchana umezumana lekayem mitzvat asi shel sfirat haomer. I am ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the Omer. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer. Our praise to you, Adonai, sovereign of all, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to count the Omer. Hayom 23 יום שהם 3 שבועות ו2 ימים לעומר. Hayom, today, is the 23rd day, which is 3 weeks and 2 days of the Omer. And so Melissa was finding her way to peel off yet another layer from this beautiful mosaic of counting of the Omer that was prepared to us by Rabbi Gila. And take a look how beautiful and inspiring this is. Thank you so much, Melissa. And now, if you are ready, I'd like to invite you to rise as we continue with the Aleinu on page 586.
Man. Guess I should turn there too. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, atekdu laloser breshi, shehu asan haratzon, velo samanu, kamishefot adama, shelo sam kelfenu kahem, vegor alinu kechol hamonam, vanachnu korim, uvishachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'nemar v'hai Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad, u'shmo
Please be seated. Our thoughts now turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. Upon hearing the name of your loved one, I invite you to rise if you're able. This week, we think of the recently passed Nancy Natkin and also Joel Coleman, beloved brother of Rabbi Gila Ruskin. For your sites observed this past week, we think of Dr. Philip Locke, Esther Kushner, Fanny Hunter, Frida Shapiro, Janet Breitstein-Backer, Jimmy Chansey, Louis Razor, Mayor Brownstein, Nathan Siegel, Nina Schiff, Norman Kogan, Patricia Newland, Paula Stein, Shelley Schumann. Let us all now rise as we recite together the ancient words of Kaddish Yatom on page 598, on behalf of those who don't have anyone to say it for them. Yitgadal v'yitkadash me'er ba, b'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chai echon u'v'yom echon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach le'olam ul'olmei almaya, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכת ושירת תושבחת ונחמת דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and all of Israel, to which we all say together, Amen.
Amen.
Let us join in our final song for this evening.
Shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu.
for Kiddush and Hamotzi. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to make a beeline to my car. And I'll see you all on Sunday,
Yes.
hopefully.
Thank you, everybody who joined us tonight on Zoom and on our YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Shabbat Shalom to all.